All right. Hello and welcome to the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers audio series / podcast, depending on where you might be finding this information and this content at the moment. My name is Pat Petrini. I'm the co-author of the #1 best-selling book, The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. And in creating this book, we reached out to some of the very top network marketers in the world, and we interviewed them, some of the top performers, both people that have been around the network marketing world for years and even decades, as well as people that are fairly newcomers that have just been around for the last few years, but have had extreme success in those just those last few years. And we reached out, we interviewed them. That's what this series is all about. You're going to hear interviews from a number of different people. And in these interviews, we dive into not only their tips, strategies, techniques, things that have really accelerated their business, but also, and of course this was sort of the thesis, the theme of the book is the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. We delve into their morning routines and their daily rituals, things that they consider to be critical for success that are really important for them to do every single day. And what we found, the whole concept of the Miracle Morning is that not every successful person does all of these different things every day, but just about every successful person does some of these things every day, has some of these daily rituals, oftentimes morning rituals, and so we dive into that in this audio series. Now, if you're not familiar with the book, you can check out the book, of course, at Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. You'll find it right there. And then, of course, you can also go to our website. You may be listening to this recording right there on our website, but if you're not, if you're finding it somewhere else, go to tmm4networkmarketers.com. That's TMM, like the Miracle Morning, FOR, networkmarketers.com. Again, my name is Pat Petrini. I hope you're going to enjoy this interview. I know you're going to enjoy this interview. You might want to have a pen and paper handy, and on with the show. Thanks a lot. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the call. Thanks for everybody that is tuning in to our Miracle Morning for Network Marketers interview here. My name is Pat Petrini, and I'm really thrilled for everybody to be able to hear my guest on the call here and contributor to the book, Mr. Evan Klassen. Evan, are you there?
I am here, Pat.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I want to tell you, I really appreciate you being part of this whole project and contributing to this whole project with us. I think a lot of people, probably if they're hearing this message, they have heard some of your, seen some of your contributions to the book, but this way they can really maybe even get more details on kind of your story and some of the things that we've talked about being successful in the network marketing world. So really, really appreciate you being on here. Where are you calling in from right now?
I'm actually in Orlando, Florida right now.
Ah, okay. Excellent. Well, I'm really excited to we'll dive into I've got a number of questions lined up for you that I want to kind of deep dive with you about network marketing. But I really want people to, you have a really incredible story, your upbringing and then coming to this country and how really network marketing just has totally changed your life. I'd love if you could kind of give us, back up and kind of tell us some of that backstory of, your childhood growing up and kind of how you came to the U.S. and then leading up to where you got into network marketing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Pat, thank you so much for, being part of this project. I really, really enjoy working with you guys and how much heart you guys bring to this project. And I know it's not just, a book that you guys wanted to write, but, it was written really with the intention to truly deliver a message and deliver in a way that it would make a difference in people's lives that will listen to it, read it or listen to the audio. So as an author, I really appreciate you have a chance and opportunity to participate in it and share some of my thoughts. And it's been tremendously amazing to work with you, Pat, and you've been a true blessing as well in this industry, and appreciate everything you've done, and just very excited about it. And one of the things is sometimes people look at Evan and they see this happy guy that does all kinds of cool things, and they sometimes look and they're like, Evan, you must have had this perfect life, right? And when they ask me that question, if I go back and and instead of remembering where my life started, where kind of things began, and first of all, I always say, hey, I'm far away from where I want to be. I'm far away from perfect. I have so many things I'm working on and so many challenges I have to overcome. A person that cries, that feels, it has pain and it has challenges and deals with challenges. And at the end of the day, what truly matters in the journey is really the journey, and that we're today further ahead in the journey to our destination than we were yesterday. And looking back, I'm not 100% where I want to be in all my dreams and goals, because we always adjust them and grow them as the journey begins. But I'm so far away from where I started, because I was born in the poorest country of Central Asia, during war, persecution, and poverty, and it was a very, very interesting environment. It was a highly communistic environment, and the German, my dad was German, so I was a German kid born in that environment. I had, as a kid, no idea how to deal with it. We had war, kind of things that you see in Syria, that 100,000 people died during that overall civil war that happened. So all those challenges, and I was one of 9 kids in our family, and kind of a middle child, and being born in this environment, it kind of created a vacuum in my belief system. And very, very early on, like probably at about age 5, I've determined that I'm someone who is meant to be a very low class in a society, someone who is meant to be really almost not a wanted kid, not by my parents. My parents have been an amazing parents, but a society, because I couldn't believe in God. If you believe in God, you could be persecuted. And my granddad actually was set in prison for 15 years just for believing in God. So it's kind of a very interesting environment that there was. And so ever since growing up, I like I said, I had low self-esteem and accepted the fact that I'm a low-class person in society. And at age 8, we escaped finally to Germany. It was interesting because I took tests, when we moved to Germany, and I actually was downgraded from 3rd grade to 2nd grade because I wasn't smart enough to pass the test. And so it kind of furthermore, kind of put that, definition on me, and then the stamp on me, Evan, and here in your face, you knew it always. And so all the way up to 21 years of my life, I found myself struggling in many areas of my life. I always was a happy kid. I always loved people, but I for example, when I was 5 years old, I was surrounded by a lot of people that hated me, that could have beat me up, could have killed me, or whatever, and I remember that I made a decision that if I be nice to people, I at least can neutralize the hatred and neutralize an enemy. So I could take someone could have beat me up and at least make them not beat me up. I'd be nice to them. And so that kind of was become a protection mechanism ever since I was a kid. Because sometimes, there's been times where I had to stand in line for bread. Like the stores didn't have bread, and they would have a big, huge, big, huge. How do you call those big cars? Truck. Oh, huge truck. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like trucks or SUVs. Yeah.
Pat, English is my 4th language, so sometimes my
I love it.
I got to remember things, words in different languages. So, but and I remember this as a probably 7-year-old kid, like standing in line, and you have people that have gunfires just protecting the crowd for standing in line in bread. And I came, those are moments or times that really kind of shaped me as a kid. So when I was 21 years old, I was burning the, kind of a candle from both ends, and it probably would lit another one if I would have it, because I started working for myself since I was 11 to help out the family, and we had 9 kids. My dad was working like crazy, 7 sisters, 1 brother, and living paycheck to paycheck, and it was one way to help the family And another big reason behind why I went working is to hide from the pain I encountered within myself. And so, and at 21 years of age, I, really have considered to end my life, because I came to a point where I felt like my life did not have the purpose. It did not fulfill what I wanted out of life. I felt like I will never amount to anything great. I felt that so much of my story that I had, I was ashamed of, I was afraid of. I was always really hiding so much of who I am, what my story is, what my background is from people because I was so filled with fear of what, people would look down on me. That was always fierce of being a kid. And so, and at 21 years old, being in college, I, got introduced, invited to a meeting. Really, right after kind of dealing with some difficult times and kind of coming out of depression. And, I went to this meeting, and it forever, ever changed my life. And I remember it was a network marketing meeting for, a company in Germany. And, and at 21 years old, I moved into United States. Like literally, when I just turned 21, I got introduced to network marketing. 6 months later, I spent in network marketing, dived into personal development. It started really transforming who I was. It started transforming my belief system. I looked at my life from the eyes of a mentor, right? From the eyes of someone that didn't have my background, and what could have been possible, what could have I been, and kind of more perspective that I had. And so when I moved to the United States, it was kind of my ticket to freedom. It was my
Just curious there, Evan. What was there a particular person that was kind of mentoring you at that time, or was it kind of just being around, like kind of network market, being around a group of people that valued personal development, or what was it for you there that started that process?
I think the biggest part was just being part of a group of people that really drove personal development and the need for it. And I think I was hungry. I've never, till age 21, read a book. I never heard of personal development. I never heard the word entrepreneurship. Those are things that I've never been surrounded by business people, in my life. And it was like I looked up sometimes when I met business people, like those are people from a whole different planet that I don't ever really even have access to. And, and so it was interesting because, it was more an environment of other people that were also, in some of the meetings we went to, it was all about, hey, you got to learn, you got to work hard on yourself and you work on your business. And it's interesting that my upline gave me 2 books when I started network marketing. They were burned on a CD. One was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And one was 21 Laws of Success, 21 Secrets by Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy has a kind of a series of 21 Laws of this and this. And so it was kind of those are 2 books that that he gave me on a CD. I started listening over and over and over again. And I never read a book, so I was not a big reader, but I listened and observed everything. And it's like I said, it started transforming my life because in my first 6 months in Germany, my first residual check was $16. And it was funny because it took you got to at least earn $10 for the company to send you the check.
Right.
And it took me 6 months to earn that check. But what was happening is that when my dad opened the check, he was like, Evan, I think this company that you say is going to make you all wealthy. And I took this check, and I will never forget it. It was such a protective moment of my life because I valued the process of who I was becoming so much. My internal economy was blooming because I saw a transformation, even though my external economy was not reflecting it, but I saw that compounded, that massive changes were taking place. And that, and that kind of was that moment to where I was so frugal to where somebody could have broke me, because I just was going out of that disbelief, absolute disbelief in myself. And that's the moment I met my wife, in Portland, Oregon. I came into youth conference, and I decided to stay in America at 21 years old, and kind of decided I will not work for anyone. this will be my freedom to wealth. I looked at my parents and were some of the most amazing people. My dad is the biggest inspiration in my life. He's such a loving, sharing, a caring person. But we always lived paycheck to paycheck. We never, like especially as we escaped to Germany. It was, and I said, this will be a way for me to have that ticket to everything I ever wanted in my life. So when I moved to America, and it was interesting because for a year and a half, I refused to get a job, and I made no money. I started a real estate business in 2007, and 2006 I went to learn English and go to school in America. And then 2007 I started my real estate business, and the real estate market crashed. It was my first year in America, first year immigrant. Nobody wanted to do business with me. I mean, if you remember 2007, the banks were closing down, realtors were going out of business. Nobody, you were in real estate too, so it was kind of an interesting environment, and it was, and I came to America with nothing but a dream, and just such a huge why that, if I would sit down, I would just cry, wanting to get out of I felt that this is my opportunity. This is my moment where I can be everything I can. I can just not be, in somebody, a slave to my past. And so after a year and a half of struggling, I was broke. I didn't have $150 to my name. It was a defining moment, and I'm sharing this because if someone listening on this audio, sometimes they look at people that achieve some success, and they look at it and they're like, well, this guy must be a lucky guy. He must have, But it's been, after a year and a half, I had everybody and their mother knocking on my door and telling me, Evan, you should quit real estate. It's the wrong time to be in real estate. You're a young kid. Everybody knows who knows you that you just moved. Nobody will make a $200,000-$300,000 investment with someone that doesn't know location, doesn't know contracts, doesn't know what's the best schools. The economy crashed. Just find maybe something that's simpler, maybe insurance, or go get a job. And I remember the fight within me because I wrote myself a check for $100,000 in January 2007, and I said, this is what I want to earn in my full year of doing real estate. And 6 months down the road, $0. I'm working. My work ethics were there because they were fueled by a huge desperate why. I worked 6 days a week, and I worked 12 to 18 hours every day. I was making calls. I was, with whatever, I was doing. And there was a defining moment in my life that, that really, really made a difference. I was driving in the car. It was raining outside. I was looking for sale by owners listings where I'm like, maybe I can find someone, knock on the door. And I tried, and a car stopped in front of me, and I was not able to stop it at the right time, and I crushed it. And, I'm sitting in the car. It's raining outside. I'm broke. It was the only car we had that my wife got as a wedding present. Right. And I don't have $150 to my name. And I'm looking up to heaven. It was really, I'm sorry, because I look back, it was such a defining moment in my life as an entrepreneur because I'm God. I asked God, I'm like, God, I did everything I can to just win. Give me just a shot. Give me just one chance, and I'll take it. I will not miss it, And it was because I failed, like a year and a half ago and pursuing, and everybody telling me to quit. Everybody telling me to give up. And it was at that moment, where I strengthened my why, where I had so many reasons. I fought with the fight of, do I quit? Do I stop? Where will I be if I would? Who will I become if I just give up? And what I look back at my family, that was my huge why. I wanted them to know that I will make it in life, just to tell them that they're an amazing family, And so And that was the moment where I've met someone that introduced me to a school, and they're like, Evan, you got to go to this real estate investment school that will really help you to understand the market and really help you understand how and have that breakthrough. And I was so hungry. I'm like, you teach me anything, I'll learn. And he's like, no, Evan, this school is not free. It's $18,000 for you to go to that school. And I looked at the guy, and I'm like, are you crazy? I'm like, I have no credit history. I have no work history. Everybody that knows me knows that I refuse to get a job, and because I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm broke. I don't have money to fix my car. You asked me $18,000. And the question he asked me, and that was part of that defining moment of my life as an entrepreneur, he not questioned him. He said, Evan, if you continue to do what you've done so far, you'll continue to get what you've gotten. Do you love where you are right now? And I was so desperate. I was so hungry. I said, absolutely no. And I looked him in the eyes at that point and I said, give me 4 weeks. I will figure out how I'm going to find the money. And I found $20,000. Bottom line is, I went to that college because I needed $2,000 to go to Phoenix, Arizona, pay for the flight to the hotel. The school was not even local. And I came back, and the next 6 months, I've ended up, closing my first transaction. And my next 6 months, I ended up earning a total of $102,000, which was interesting because I did not know. I was not counting the money. When I got the 1099, I was working for Remax. They gave me that, kind of an award for $100,000 club, and $102,000 was on my 1099. I broke down in tears because, it reflected, I hold that. It meant so much to me, not because of the money I made, but because of just the pain that was behind of getting there and overcoming and doing. And from there on, I got back into network marketing in 2008 and got reintroduced. And this is what I'm doing right now full time. We've been blessed to build a business in 23 different countries, and but at the end of the day, Pat, it's a journey, and a story, and a challenges that we all have to overcome to get where we want to be. They're all worth it when we look back and reflect of again where we were and where we're going, and where we are right now. So, but that's kind of a little story. Sorry if I waited a little bit too long.
No, dude, please. I love the passion. I love the story. I love the hustle. It's great it's really inspiring to hear. And one of the things that I think is one thing that stands out to me that for if anybody that might be listening to this that might find themselves in like that a really tough situation financially. Jim Rohn says you've got to. It's what you become in the process, right? Not how much you make. But sometimes when you're in that low point, though, you're like it's more. Or you hear people in network marketing. We talk a lot about how it's about you're going to get the personal growth that comes out of it is the most valuable thing. And but when you're in that down point, it's easy to be like, screw personal growth, man. I need $1. Like I need to make some money, and but it sounds like you really kind of saw, you recognize that like there's going to be some hard work and some tough times, and you were willing to claw through that and like focus on developing and focus on growing yourself, and then the rewards come after that. Once you become valuable to the marketplace, then the rewards come off. But it's hard to have that, foresight when you're in that situation. I think that's really unique and important for people to realize.
Well, and for me, I wanted money. Trust me, I wanted.
Sure,
money.
Of course, right.
The person, because sometimes the reward of hard work and dedication is not instantly money. It's the growth and the journey that you get, and money is then. Sometimes I ask people, like, how long did it take you to really have your final breakthrough? Because even when I talked to to a guy that was making over $1 million a month, and it was well over 10 years of struggle, well over 10 years of not making money, and then overnight success, in a period of 5 years to go from zero to $1 million a month, right?
Right.
It's what we don't understand is there's always that price. It's fine to have the desire to create money, but the journey is what's invaluable, because I would never, ever would want to take away any part of that journey that led me to be where I am today.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I was listening to there's a podcast that I really like that I was listening to last week, and one of the lines that they threw out there was that overnight successes usually take about 5 to 10 years. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. It's we don't see the backstory of the struggle and the growth and everything that somebody has to go through before they finally get to where everybody just thinks they're lucky. So I guess just one more point on that is that I know that obviously you're really, really big on personal growth, and it's had you've transformed who you are, and it's transformed your life and your success, and you've now built huge organizations around the world and generated millions of dollars in revenues and commissions. How much do you think you've probably spent on personal growth thus far?
I've spent, as of today, over $120,000 over the last. So it's been about 9 years since I moved to the United States. So about $120 plus thousand on personal development. I went to different seminars, whether it was for the industry, whether it was outside the industry. I bought into different courses. And had mentors, personal coaches, and books and tapes and audios and training programs and all kinds of things that you invest in travel for but totally if I really take the cost. But what the interesting part is that over a period of 10 years, you can take every dollar you invest in yourself and you can multiply it by 10. If you really take that personal growth and the journey of who you become, and you apply things that you learn, you can, within 10 years, multiply it by 10, and you will, minimum, multiply it by 10 to 100 in some cases, and even more, a factor of what every dollar will bring to you in terms of an income over a period of that time, and of course, far beyond in your lifetime.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, let me, change courses just a little bit, and I want to kind of dive into. Obviously, we're putting together the Miracle Morning for Network Marketers series here, or the book here, and the program and everything. So I really want to start asking a little bit just about kind of morning routine and evening routine, or whatever. I find that Hal Elrod, original author of the Miracle Morning, really does a great job in packaging their Miracle Morning into something that has become very viral. But you can talk to anybody successful, and you'll find that they do these rituals, on a daily basis, even if they hadn't heard of the Miracle Morning yet. And so I'd love to, maybe walk us through some of your what are like the really, sort of sacred daily routines to you that have had the biggest impact in your life, what's your morning look like, or some planning the night before, or whatever some of those daily routines are.
Yeah. Well, first of all, for some of you listening, that I wanted you guys to know, really, I struggled with it. Okay, I'm not a very organized person up to this moment, up to recently, right? I struggled with a lot of, how do you organize? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm on the go. I create massive acts. But sometimes that activity wasn't very well organized, and it produced great results. But it compared to what it could have produced, I think I could have been much more further ahead if I started earlier doing what I'm doing right now. So I started really being very intentional about what I do, and this is where it starts. So it doesn't matter where you start if you're listening or you're reading this. It doesn't matter where you start as long as you truly understand that. If you don't plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
if you plan and your day and your work, your plan, you create success at the higher level. So my morning routine, how it looks right now, and when I implemented it, started changing every area of my life, is that I get up around 7 o'clock. So sometimes 6:30, sometimes 7:30. Depends if I go to bed because I have an international team, and sometimes I go to bed very late, and I get up a little bit later. But so in my first 2 hours of my day, it's kind of my personal time. I get up, I go work out. During the workout, I create a vision plan that I have that I look at. I created a very detailed vision plan where I have pictures, I have descriptions, I have my why, where I want to be 5 years from now, because it's something that's pulling me from, right? And every morning, what I do, I take about 30 to 45 minutes actually to go in my own world. I have great music playing. It's epic motivational music. I actually, if you Google it on Facebook, you find some really powerful combinations of music. I press play, I close my eyes, and I go into where I am 5 years from now. I go to where places I live. I go to people I'm hanging out with. Who are my mentors? In fact, I have 16 mentors that I meet every day. They're virtual mentors, but they're people I admire in my life. Some of those is Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs.
Right.
Some of those, Tony Robbins, and people that every day I'm spending, I'm asking them, what would you do? How would you, treat your day? How would you value your time? How would you, Nito Cuban, for example, he's the president of High Point University, and someone that came with $50 to America and built a $400 million net worth, and he values his time in 15-minute increments. So every 15 minutes, he packs it with value and organizes it. So my point is, I go in this world that I've created, and I really, really go through what drives me, what motivates me, where I want to be, and I make it so real emotional. I get tears sometimes when I go through it, and I do it 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, because I want to be very clear what drives me. And I finish up always that routine with, okay, what do I have to do today and this month for me to move forward to where I want to be 5 years from now? Because at the end of the day, you got to have a vision that pulls you forward, right? You got to have a big dream that gets you fired up. But if you don't take action towards it, if you don't do something in the moment that you live right now, and there's this given moment, because that's the only thing we have right now, it's the moment, right? The past is the past, future is not there. That becomes insignificant. So, and it's like I visualize what I'm doing and who I need to be, today to start growing every month by month by month and years by years into accomplishing where I want to be, right? And so, and I have, I work out, I have a visualization. I use an achievement planner, which is something that really, really been probably one of the big part why I started transforming my life. It's called the Achievement Planner by David Bird. David Bird was Paul Meyer's. He ran Paul Meyer's company, which was the billionaire, and he used that plan to run the company, and it's very well planned. And the idea behind it is plan tomorrow before tomorrow begins. Plan your week before your week begins. Plan your month before your month begins, and your year before your year begins. So, and because when we get intentional about the things we do tomorrow and the things we do in the now, right, we stop wasting a lot of time that we waste if we're not planning. Because if we don't plan of exactly what we do and very intentional about it, we found ourselves being reactive. Phone rings. Okay, let's say, this situation happens. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And we're all over the place. And at the end of the day, we were busy. But we lived in a reactive world for the most day, right? And when we plan and then execute the plan, is we're proactive. We create events that we organize and we follow through that will lead us to where we want to be. And so that's how I start my morning. I go with a plan, what I need to do. I have almost right now, for example, I created a massive 90-day run kicking off this year. It's January. Beginning of January until March, we have a big convention. So what I did is I divided my activities. What is my personal activity that I got to do every day to drive my business? Because there's obviously your personal production and your team production, right? And just being busy,
right.
you know, with your team all day is great, but it doesn't necessarily means that you're bringing personally business, meaning that you're asking other people in your team to do what you don't do yourself, right? And I think a lot of people are like travel agents. You know, sometimes they try to send people to places they've never been themselves, right? And so this is what one thing, and I was there too. So, you know, I said, hey, you got to do this, but I have done myself. So now I'm very intentional about it because, again, you know, I want to step into not just being successful, but, you know, live a life of significance, right? And that's not about what we do for us, but what we do for others. So, and that's how I kick off my day. And then I divide my activity between personal growth, intentional, you know, and then I divide my activity between personal production and IT production during the day, you know, and do obviously meetings, you know, and calls, and then I close out my day always with sitting down, plan tomorrow before tomorrow begins, right? And repeat. So am I perfect at it? No. Did I took my life to a whole new level because of it? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of my routine looks like.
I love it. And I've never heard I really love the kind of the virtual mentor idea. I've never heard anybody say that, you know, visiting with like kind of your mentors, people that you respect and like bouncing questions off them in your own head and everything. That's a great concept. I love that.
Well, it really started changing my life because, I mean, I've been blessed, as you maybe, Pat, you know, been blessed to co-author Think and Grow Rich today. I was, you know, invited to be one of the 20 authors to participate in the book. And the concept, you know, just was, the concept was just sharing what we do today, applying Napoleon Hill's principles. We featured Napoleon Hill in it, but we know Napoleon Hill was huge on that, right? So I started, this is something that I started doing because I started getting very intentional about my life, so much so far that I wanted to experience. And when I go in this time with my mentors, and that time out of 45 minutes that I do, it's maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes I have that conversation with my mentors every day. Yeah. And it's you know, because I'm an entrepreneur, not just, you know, just a network marketer, you know, I ask, what would you do? I bring real problems to think, and I'm like, well, I'm wondering how, Steve. So how would you look at this situation? You know, if you know, how would you create this? How would you just settle for good, or would you really go and be the best at it? You know, and I create you know, such a conversation that it's like real, you know, and I get such breakthroughs, ideas, whether it's for some books that I'm working on. You know, whether it's some other things, you know, that I'm doing outside of network marketing, just some personal business projects, and just in my life overall, you know, and it's been significantly impacting me because, like, for example, Michael Jordan is someone that holds me accountable to work out and discipline, right? Because as I mentioned with you, that I wasn't organized and kind of having that discipline was my challenge. Now every day, I got to be in that gym. Michael Jordan is waiting for me. If I don't show up,
I love it.
If I don't show up a couple times, he's quitting on me. I will never have a chance. You know. Now I'm showing up because now Michael Jordan himself, you know, and it's kind of sounds crazy to people, but I don't care. You know, if people think it's crazy because it's working. It's proven because our brain doesn't understand the difference between, you know, what we think. You know, or our nervous system doesn't understand the difference, right? Between reality and imagination. It's why, you know, imagination is so powerful. And so that's been a huge blessing for me, you know, in terms of just moving into a whole new space for my personal growth and my new experience.
Right. I think it's an awesome concept. And I relatively recently, it's not too long ago that I was somebody on the side of the fence that was like, it was really skeptical of meditation, affirmation, anything along those lines. I was kind of like, you know, dangling crystals and just seemed really weird and new age. But
But I was totally naive to all of the science and the research that exists for visualization and meditation and affirmations, it's kind of just it's irrefutable at this point. If people will just go and look at the legitimate science and research coming out of legitimate institutions about how dramatically we can change our brain and our thoughts and all this kind of stuff with these different techniques, it's really, really amazing. But yeah, I'm in that same boat that I would have called you crazy not too long ago as well. Just a year or a couple of years ago. So.
Yeah, and it's funny, for network marketing, guess who? Dexter Yeager is my mentor for network marketing, right? He's really the number one guy in the history of network marketing.
Right.
And so he's the guy that I'm like, what's my work ethics today got to look like? Dexter, how much would you work right now if you'd be me? How would you handle this situation? Or would you really, really relax right now? Would you run like crazy knowing that this was going to happen? And
right.
Again, it's weird, but here's what: success for the most people is weird. What successful people is weird, and because the world is not for people that want to live in the box. I'm excited about where the future will go, and that's a whole different conversation. But sometimes, obviously, there's so much proof of super successful people. Whether it's Edison or other people that say we visualize things before they happen. It's having that moment and time every day with your mentors that changes who you are, because I'm in the process of actually studying every one of them, 16 mentors that I have. There's weaknesses, there's strengths, so I have a much more effective way of actually listening and creating their advice and understanding like their point of view on how they looked at their life and really utilize their strengths to be as mentors. The reason I have 16 is because each one of them has different strengths, and I overall have the whole package from all of them,
Yeah. Yeah, the reason that you said 16 is significant, I didn't quite catch that.
No. The reason I have 16 mentors,
and
is because each one of them has done something very, very special to the world, and individually they all had something different that was their strength. So I want to get,
I got it.
And I come to them to advise them on the area of their strengths,
Right.
So
right.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And I'm always just curious in the morning, what is working out for you? Do you do strength training? Do you play some basketball with Michael Jordan? What are you doing in the morning?
No, what I do is I run for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And like this machine where you, I don't know, treadmill?
Like a treadmill?
Not treadmill, but the things where it's almost like climbing steps where you hold with your hands and you move your hands and your feet at the same time.
Yeah. Like an elliptical or a stair stepper or something like that.
Correct. So I close my eyes, and that's when I do. I do it sometimes, like I said, like my last time I was doing it 55 minutes, because I was, and that's why I do my imagination, because it's safe to close my eyes, and so I do some now I'm very, getting into working on my body, my whole body, but I've been for the most part, my workout, just doing conditioning and a little bit of workout on back and so strength. Now I'm going more into that,
Yeah. I like that. I think there's huge value. That's a great way to do the visualizations and everything when you're doing like treadmill or something like that, where you can actually close your eyes, because obviously your blood is pumping, you're super awake, you're aware, you're not just kind of sitting down to where you could, potentially relax a little bit more. Tony Robbins always like emotion creates emotion, right? So that's a great way to do it. Very cool. Well, let me see. I just looking at my notes of some of the other things that I wanted to really dive into. Oh, okay, yeah, this is kind of shifting topics again one more time. But I know that you have I think you've got some passion on this topic, is that I know a while back you had interviewed $100 million earners and came to some conclusions about what's really key to look for in choosing a network marketing company. This is a topic that I always kind of hit on a lot when I'm interviewing people, because I just think it's such an important piece So I don't know. Some people say, hey, just as long as you get in and work hard, then it's all. And I think that a huge part of having success in network marketing is really being with the right company. You could have a great work ethic and be in the wrong spot and still not get where you need to go. So tell me about that. What interviewing those 100 people and kind of what your conclusions were there.
Yeah. I've interviewed well over 100 people that are somewhere from $1 million to $80 million and in this industry, and many owners, many people even outside of network marketing. I've had a chance to meet people like Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, Joe Maxwell, or Mark Victor Hansen, and Kevin Harrington. Like many people, and overall, you understand that there's 5 key components to really build a legacy company. And here's what's important to understand. We joined network marketing for the most part, once we started understanding the industry, for residual income, because we understand that we can work hard now and build that residual income, right? So, but in order for us to build long-term residual income, we do have to really be selective where we invest our time. And there's good companies out there in this industry, and there's also companies just like in every industry, right? There's companies built with intentions to really stay long term. There's companies that are just build, make money now, and get out of it, right?
Right.
And there's really 5. I realized that all of those companies, and I studied. Besides that, I studied and I met owners of multi-billion-dollar companies, right? And owners like companies like Nu Skin, and companies, other ones that build multi-billion-dollar companies, right? So, and there's 5 key components that absolutely need to be in place for a company to sustain, less of time. And the number one component is leadership, corporate leadership, right? So everything falls and rises from leadership. And so this is the number one thing to really evaluate. What is some of the past experience? What's the intentions of the leadership? What's their desire with, what they want to do with the company? Do they build really a long-term solid company, or is it more like, I want to build it and just maybe sell it? Or what's, evaluate, what the past experience in network marketing is, maybe what's the past experience in the field is. And the ideal, of course, if you have someone that understands how the field works, how the corporate works, that's where the ideal kind of environment is for great leadership. And of course, if that leader is great, he will surround himself by other great people, right? And Joe Maxwell talks about the leadership lid, that if we are at 5, we will never be able to attract 6 or 7. So, and it all starts from falls and rises with some leadership. That's the number one component that's really important to look at. Number 2 component is a product, and there's obviously services. There's consumable products, and so. But what's key is with the product that that you have a product that people would use, whether there's a complement to it or not. So you do have to have a real product that people see mainstream value, that your business is consumer driven rather than just purely distributor driven. Because and the reason for that is a couple of things. Number one, if it's just distributor driven business, is that if something goes wrong, your distributorship, will change, move to another company and your check disappears, right?
Right.
And if you have a solid customer base that don't care about what distributors are doing, but they love the product, you build some solid. In fact, when I talked to Jeff Roberti, who makes $80 million, right? He made in this company. He has over 1 million customers in his database. A lot of his top leaders over time left. But he created a consumer base, that he over 25 years been making $2, $3, $4 million a year. And it's actually right now he's making more money than ever before. So that has to be there. So you have a real value to the market that's competitive, that's, somewhat unique, that's not just, overpriced, but real consumer-driven business model, and that's, the product is obviously attraction for the consumer. So that's the second thing. The third thing is kind of a triangle, I would say a wheel, put together out of 3 pieces. So the number one piece is compensation plan. Out of that, right? You have to have a compensation plan that drives the right behavior. People always argue, if I would have so many people in my comp plan, you would make so much more money, or you would. And I say, it does not matter. is not what the complement pays at the front end. It's how it moves people to do what they need to do. So it's the drive behavior that would encourage, because a good complement will have about a third payout to the top, a third payout to the middle class, and a third payout to the new beginner, the new starting out. That's a good complement. Sometimes there's complement that are very top savvy, where big amount of money goes just to the top and there's no middle class. And when that happens, you got a revolution. If you have a country with no middle class, you got a revolution, right? And same thing in a complement. That's why, there's some complements that don't sustain a long period of time. So that's a healthy complement. It drives the right behavior. It's spread equally, to the top, middle, and beginning. And then you got to have a system that drives that complement, a system that drives that behavior to be duplicatable, right? And
by the way, I think that point that you made is really, really strong, and I very rarely hear people say that, is that most people, when they're comparing comp plans, it's always like, well, mine pays 45%, mine pays 52%, mine pays whatever. And I totally agree that what's way more important is what behaviors does it drive. That's a really great observation. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and because at the end of the day, here's the reality, okay? Your comp point, if it pays more than 53%, and it's a consumable, real company with real management, real expansion plans, and wants to stay long-term and now, you're kind of in a danger zone, So at the end of the day, let's say if it pays between 40 and 50%, you're in a green zone. But it's how do you split the penny? Because there's only so many times you can split a penny, right? You can
exactly.
So and it's how you split the penny, but more important, how do you allow people to earn that penny? How do you earn is that what's the behavior that people need to create to earn that? And what they earn becomes, secondary, but what's the behavior? And it has to always encourage, people from the top working with people at the bottom. It has always encouraged that new person that's just starting out, that's never maybe done network marketing, that he can see his success in his first 30 days, and it has something tangible to show for it, It has to be something that on a part-time person, on a part-time basis a person can do, because that's what 95% of the people that are in any given company are, right? They're part-time. So and then you got to have the system. That's the second part of that wheel, right? It duplicates that behavior. So you got to have the right training. You got to have simple message that preferably, and what I found out that really great companies they have, they do that. They create the system for the people. Because if they don't have a system, what you have is the leaders coming along and creating their systems. And now if 10 leaders created 10 different systems, now there's massive competition. Hey, I got the best one. I got this. So if the company takes care of that, the distributors don't have to fight for it, and prove themselves. So that's a system is the second key component. And the third of that wheel is culture. Culture is that glue that keeps that wheel moving, right? That keeps that wheel together. Is how we make people feel while they're doing what they're doing, right? How I would expect, there's sometimes, I've seen companies that if you come in and you don't create success right now, you're kind of a loser,
Right.
And again, culture is really understanding people that we love you until you love yourself. We believe in you until you believe yourself, and there's no expiration date on you. And it's really around building people, because that's the most important component of success in network marketing, as I shared before, is help people grow. And the biggest part is that you got to have that wheel working together. You have all three work with each other. Otherwise, it's going to be out of balance. And if we help a brand new person in our first 30 days make that extra $400 to $500 over their lifetime with you, with the company, they will recruit 7 times more people, and they produce 10 times more volume. And this is data that I actually got from a friend of mine. His friend, did back offices to over 300 companies, and they took the data of tens of millions of people, and they analyzed that data, and they came to the conclusion that if you help a person make that extra $300 to $500 in the first 30 days, their belief system goes up. Their desire to stay with the company, learn from you, and believe that you can lead them to the promised land goes up through the roof, and they produce on average 7 times more recruits, 10 times more volume, which is very important. And that's the third component, right? Culture is the glue that bonds the comp plan, and the system is what drives duplication. The fourth component is field leadership, right? Is how company allows their leaders to work together, and it's people who you join. So it's very important to make sure that that you ask some important question is that the people that you work with, sometimes not even directly at people, but someone in their upline, is really knows what they're doing, and the company drives a great leader-centered business model. That it encourages leaders to work together. It preferably has one message that all the leaders together drive. So not every leader develops their own message, and they lose completely the message of what the company is about. So that's very important. That the company supports and attracts the right leadership by becoming who they are and creating the system, creating the training and the culture. They all attract the right leadership, and then the leaders, they bring it to the world. They bring it to the masses. And that's a very important component when you choose who's the field leadership, not the corporate, but the field leadership. And obviously they have to work very well together with the corporate leadership. And then the fifth component is timing, right? You've got to evaluate timing. What's the timing of the company? And timing doesn't mean age of the company. Sometimes people mistake company is old, And for example, again, I'm not in Nu Skin, but I'm just for example, I respect the company so much. Because 30 years later, the company has grown last year in 2014 or 13 by almost $1 billion in a year, right? So what's the difference between a company that after 3 years is kind of that a shooting star that disappeared, or a company after 30 years has tremendous growth? It's really that they have those components in place, all 5, and it's timing, right? You got to make sure that it's not the age of the company that matters, but it's really the space the company is in. It has to be relevant. If you today, selling long distance services, for example, right? It's irrelevant. You got to be on the top notch of where the future is going. Because if you're ahead of trends, you make money. If you're behind trends, you lose money. That's kind of, in a nutshell, what's the timing? I always look at a couple of different timings. What's the timing in the space that my company is in? What's the timing of the company? Are they expanding international? Are they launching new products? Are they committed to innovation? Are they committed to, adapt to the new reality, right? What's maybe the timing of the people that the leadership of the company, corporate leadership. So there's a couple of different components of you look at it, but those are the 5 components. Again, in a nutshell, it's number 1, corporate leadership. Number 2 is the product. Number 3 is the system, culture, and comp plan. They all work 3 together in a wheel. And number 4 is field leadership, how the field works together. Number 5 is timing. Those are the 5 key components that if a person really evaluates, and you will eliminate 95% of the companies that could lead you to limited success.
Right. I love it. Hey, that's a lot of good info, and I agree with you on every point there. Yeah, and the timing thing, I agree. It's not just how old the company is, but like you said, there's all these different factors that go into it. Like, Apple was however many years old when they reinvented themselves, when Steve Jobs reinvented them, came out with the iPhone or the iPod, the iPhone. Everything moves in cycles. There's faster times, slower times. A new system could be coming out, a new product could be coming out. Or all kinds of things could be happening that affect timing. But a lot of people are just really focused on the company's only 6 months old, and that's not the only piece. So just the last thing, man, I really appreciate just all the time that you've spent with us here. I feel like we've covered some really, really powerful stuff for everybody. Just one other question, and then if there's any closing comments that you have or anything that we hadn't touched on. But I always just like to ask over you've mentioned a couple, but over the over the course of your life, any books that really slapped you upside the head, or were kind of pivot points for you or I know you, of course, mentioned, Think and Grow Rich, and obviously you've written, kind of a companion book to that, so that's obviously had a huge impact on you. Any others that are worth mentioning?
Yeah, Pat, there's definitely a couple of books. One of the big books, especially if somebody is newer into the industry, that I would very recommend is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Yep.
And it's
Great
by Jeff Olson. Because I've just recently, kind of over the last couple of years, I've got to those books, but because I think that those books really explain what this industry is about. And if you're someone that really wants to create success, you have to understand that. I had always a philosophy I earned from one of my mentors early on. You got to work like a hunter, think like a farmer, right? You got to go out today and make things happen. I understand, but you have to understand when a farmer sows the seed, right? He's not spending tomorrow and expecting crops. You got to do the work. You got to wait, give it time. The crop has to die. It has to, before it brings food. So it's a process. Success is not one single event. It's a process. And the things that we do to be successful, they're so insignificant in the moment of we're doing them, right? So for example, if I do today 2 calls or not, well, they're insignificant. If I do them, I might have success, I might not, right? If I don't do them, I might, I for sure won't have success, right?
Right.
10 pages a day. If I read 10 pages a day today, or I don't read, they won't make me a genius overnight, right? But compounded over a period of time, if you read 10 pages every day of a good book, it's 3,600 pages, right? It's 10 to 12 good books. And that over time, if you do it over 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it started shifting your philosophy, shifting what you do, how you look at things. And one of the biggest philosophy, like kind of ideas that changed my life is like if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Because, in books, they're so powerful to give us a new perspective on our life and personal development. That is you got to make it part of who you are every day to do those activities. And this Compound Effect and the Slight Edge are 2 books that really bring the true, real thing to the table and tell you, listen, it's not about the big deal tomorrow. It's not about you recruiting that huge leader tomorrow and being a millionaire, but it's about you doing the activity every day, whether you see results or not, and being consistent. And if you're consistent over a period of time, doing something little, and you teach your people to be consistent over time, doing something little, you create a compound effect in your life, you create a compound effect in your business, and that ultimately, if you stick long enough and you persist long enough, will lead you to success. And those are 2 incredible books for someone that, obviously Miracle Morning is going to come out. I think it's going to be an incredible book as well. And then a book about money by Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Game.
I just finished that. So good.
Uh-huh.
So good.
Yeah, a lot of network marketers, we're creating money, and I've seen a lot of that made millions of dollars and that broke today. So it's so smart about living a good lifestyle, But you got to be smart about money. So Tony Robbins, someone that it's an incredible book. I'm actually in process. I get the audio version and the book version, so I study and listen to it. Then John Maxwell, 21 Laws of Leadership, is one of the best leadership books ever written. It's really helps you to understand what you have to be and who you have to become to attract good people and really drive leadership. Because, again, leadership is what will hold your organization together, and that's what we do. We grow people. Then there's a book, Start With Why, by Simon Sinek. It's a really, really incredible book. I would recommend it. Then the Psycho-Cybernetics, which is by Dr. Maxwell Wells. It's really the philosophy of how we think about ourselves and the mindset. And again, a lot of that stuff, it's really to grow you. And just remember, here's what I would say, and just kind of final thoughts of this conversation, Pat, is where we come from and our past and our challenges, our pain points. A lot of us, that go through life or enter this, a lot of us, we go through different times. I shared a little bit of my story. Unfortunately, we can't go and change the past. It's done. It's over. It's a done moment. We never will be able to get back. But what we can do is change what the past means to us today, in the present. And when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at will change. So we change the way the past has, and what the meaning the past has to us today is when we can use that challenging moment, those difficult moments, and today it becomes part of our life. Guys, the reasons I've been in two best-selling books, one was Brian Tracy and one was Think and Grow Rich Today with Napoleon Hill, was because of my past, because of my challenges, because of my difficult times, not because of my hoorah. Just the success is just kind of the final epic point that, you know, it's a journey of the past, and everything has meaning in our life, and, you know, and the meaning that we have, we're in control of it, right? We don't control the events that are happening in our life. What we control is what things mean to us. And to give you an example, you know, I celebrate, you know, the most darkest time of my life where I went through, you know, the time where I almost committed suicide, and I hated everything about me. I hated God, hated everything, you know, is I live today as that as the biggest gift the world has given me. Because I was able to be broken down so much and rebuild a new Evan, you know, that now I'm a different person than I was before that moment. You know, I take it as my second chance that God gave me and said, Evan, listen, I give you a second chance, you know, for you to go and change your life. You know, don't live your life in this moment, you know, in that insignificant feeling. And I created so much powerful meaning to that event. When I think about it today, it fires me up. It's one of the most powerful events that fires me up. And even though people go like, Evan, some people are like, Evan, why do you share it? It's not good for your branding or reputation. And for me, I don't care what other people think. You know, if somebody has a problem with that, it's their problem, not my problem. You know, because right now we live in a world where we had a youth conference, and you know, we had almost 1,000 young kids there, and 97% of kids said, I've thought about suicide at some point in my life. And those were people under 30 years old, you know, on 1,000. So meaning that when God sometimes gives us a challenge, and life gives us sometimes a challenge, it's meant to grow us. And when we give the right meaning to life, we can discover that we can use it as rather than an excuse and be a victim, we can find a reason in that and become a victor. And rather it's be a roadblock, it become a building block for us to build anything in our life that we want. You know, and so for all of you that may be listening to this, just know that whatever you're going through life, find a purpose, find a why, and start asking yourself the right questions, because the questions always determine how you feel about things. You know, where you go, how, you know, the quality of your questions will always determine the quality of your outcome and what you feel about any given situation in your life. So make sure that the questions are empowering, that the questions are, you know, and when you put that package together around you identify that every event in your life had a purpose, and every event had a meaning. And if you bring that together, and you can design your life, and you can create success if you just don't quit. Know that I believe in you, and I'm here today. First of all, I give glory to God for any of my success, because without Him, you know, I would be nothing. You know, but second of all, to tell you that I'm here to represent you. You know, I don't represent just success or things that I've done for myself, but I'm here to tell you that I've struggled through every emotion probably a person could struggle, and today I'm standing strong because, you know, of God and because of great mentors. So there's hope, there's opportunity, so never quit on your goals, regardless of what anybody tells you, and know that Evan Klassen believes in you.
I love it, man. I don't think that there's anybody that could possibly listen that can't be feeling your passion, your authenticity, your fire about it. I just, again, really, really appreciate you being on here and sharing your whole story and all the things that we've gotten to dive into here on this call. I think it's going to benefit a lot of people, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Pat, and thank you so much for having me part of this. I'm so blessed and honored, and you're an amazing guy, and thank you for everything you do as well for our profession. And, so it's the future is very bright. At the end of the day,
no doubt.
Social entrepreneurship is the new currency of the future for entrepreneurs, and network marketing is exactly that. So if someone maybe thinks like, oh, network marketing has a future, I have spent time with some of the greatest economies like Paul Zane Pilsner and Harry H. Dent and Peter Diamandis, who was voted by Forbes one of the 50 most influential people in the world, who's one of the really, where network marketing is positioned right now to go is one of the greatest places. So ask yourself, how do you position yourself? How do you take advantage of it? Be serious about it, and live your dream, live epic. God bless you guys.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Evan. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Hey, this is Pat Petrini again, and just to wrap up really quickly, I just want to remind you that if you liked this interview, we've got a whole bunch more. If you go to our website, it's tmm4networkmarketers.com. That's TMM, like the Miracle Morning, F-O-R, networkmarketers.com. And, of course, if you haven't checked out the book yet, you can go to, first off, you get 2 free chapters of the book at tmm4networkmarketers.com. And then, of course, if you want to get the book, go to Amazon and just search for The Miracle Morning for networkmarketers.com, and you can get it paperback, Kindle, whatever. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you really enjoy the rest of the content that we've made available for you. Thanks a lot. Again, my name is Pat Petrini, and I'll see you on the next interview.